Hey guys, hope that you are doing all fine. This is a video that I'll make now in Canada with my family here watching TV, so you might hear some background noise and everything. But this is about Ironman that I recently finished in Cozumel, and I made a nice text that you can see online on a Google Docs actually about my adventure more in details. This video I project it to be around 10 to 15 minutes, and basically it's a shorter version of my adventure there, so bear with me here. It will get pretty interesting. So I have my document in front of me just to guide me through the notes and everything. It starts by my background and why Ironman. Why this did I decided to get this also very expensive piece of metal, expensive in time, money, and energy, basically, because it's such a feat, you know. For those of you that don't know what an Ironman is, it's basically I'll say it in miles and in kilometers. It's a triathlon. It's the hardest triathlon in the world. Many people call it the toughest race for common mortals. Obviously, there's other things that are harder, such as ultra marathons and stuff, which I am also going to get in, but it's considered like widely as the toughest race in the world. So in miles, so like triathlon is swim, bike, and run. So in miles, swimming 2.4 miles, 4 kilometers. Okay, so 2.4 miles and 4 kilometers. That's really long for people that swim out there. Like when I started swimming, I almost couldn't even do 10 meters, you know, and 4 kilometers is 4,000 meters. Bike, 112 miles, which is 180 kilometers for Canadians out there. And the run is 26.2 miles, which is 42 kilometers, so a marathon. So you start with the swim, then you go with the bike, and you finish with a marathon. Why did I decided to do that? So one of my best friends, Phil, he had his stepfather back in the days that had just moved with his mom, and this guy, he had a bunch of medals in his basement, and I was quite curious to know about those medals, and I asked Phil, like, what are those medals? You know, what did he do? And saw a bunch of them medals with Ironmans. You know, there was about like 7 of them, and I asked Phil, like, what is this? What is this thing? You know, and he told me that it was this super hard thing with a lot of miles and kilometers to do. And at that time, you know, we were going to the gym and everything, and it was interesting for us to know that such a feat was possible. And I mean, when you look at it from a common mortal perspective, from at the time we were just going at the gym, I think I was doing Muay Thai and stuff, but it was really impressive, almost impossible. And you know, the slogan of those guys is anything is possible. So and yeah, that got my curiosity, and basically from there years have gone by and stuff. I've been running pretty much on a daily basis just because it's fun to go out and get some air, until I decided to make some kind of shift in my life about 3 years ago, where I would travel the world with my beautiful wife and everything, and decided to start marathons basically. So my first marathon, well, my first half marathon was in Buenos Aires, 21 kilometers. I did it with my wife. We didn't had any experience, especially hers, so really proud of that. Then I went on doing 3 marathons in like 1 year, I think. That was pretty intense, but needed, as like the best triathletes out there are runners, and I don't consider my best anything like the best or competitive in that sport. Just want to finish it, and here we go. I got it. But 3 marathons. So one in Puebla, which is in Mexico. Second was in Madeira, Portugal, small island, really tough one. And my third one was probably the toughest in Serbia, because my stomach wasn't used to the keto diet I was on. That's another story, but I did 3 marathons. Then I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this Ironman stuff. So I did a half Ironman a few months after in Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. went really well. This half Ironman, really good results. I trained, I think, for 1 month or something like that. And basically, that was my the road to the Ironman. So basically, the Ironman is coming after that. So I did my half Ironman in Cabo San Lucas. Half Ironman is obviously half of that. So we got a 2 kilometer swim. We've got 90 kilometer bike ride and a half marathon at the end. So babe, it appears on my computer. Thank you. My wife is trying to get a code there and annoying me in the process. But yeah, let's go on with this video. I love you, babe. Um, so that's basically my story that leads up to this Ironman. As the Ironman, the half Ironman was in end of 2019, and basically prepared me for this crazy thing that is the Ironman. And the backstory, obviously, like 2020 COVID hit, and things got difficult pretty much for anyone in many fields. And I was like, yeah, the Ironman's on my bucket list. I need to do it sooner or later. We're pretty much stuck up in Mexico. We traveled like to a few countries basically in 2020. I'll make another video about that, about our destinations. But basically, in Mexico, we started before the 2020. We were end of 2019. I asked my wife's hand, so she became my fiance, and that was in Huatulco. Then I had to get out of Mexico so I don't have to pay a fine. So we basically went to, well, after Huatulco, which is in Oaxaca state, we went to Chiapas. After Chiapas, we went to Guatemala, and in all those places we are pretty much all the time in condos. So I do have access to, like, to pools, to gym, which include bikes, and obviously I can run. And basically my training started there. Yet, like, I wasn't in training mode at all. You will see why. But basically, like, as being in training mode for an Ironman is quite intense, and I didn't want that. I didn't really had time. Business was changing and everything. I had to adapt to COVID and all of that. So I preferred. I just like going to the gym, like working out and just for health purposes, not really for Ironman. But that being said, we went to Guatemala, to a city called Cuernavaca, which is near Mexico City, south of Mexico City. We stayed 2-3 months there. Again, had access to a gym and a pool for a while, but they closed it because of COVID. Um, After that, saw an amazing Airbnb in Manzanillo, Mexico's. A penthouse with a sea view was like the best place we ever stayed in for so many reasons. But we got there. I met with a friend that also did triathlon and did a bit of training with him. We went to swim in the sea and everything. After that, we went to Guadalajara. I had access to a gym there, Sports City, which is like in every parts of Mexico. It was quite limited, the training, because we could only swim like for 1 hour in the pool, for example. Thus, it wasn't ideal at all to train. That's why I asked my assistant, hey, can we have an Airbnb with a pool that was us? So that's why we went actually that was ours, basically a pool in Puerto Vallarta. And so, yeah, we had some kind of pool there, did a bit of training, finally got back to Oaxaca, and that's where I started to train. So that was like almost the end of the year, because I had like 3 months to train for my Ironman. And in Oaxaca, I had access to my bike endurance, which is now sitting here in a garage and waiting to be put back together. So I started training for the bike there in the mountains, really good. So like really uphill, although the Ironman in Cozumel wasn't uphill, was good for actually the VO2 max that they call, which is like really essential for training in hard zones, although it's not that essential. But I started to train on my bike, meet again with endurance, which I haven't seen and tried up until back basically in Cabo San Lucas. So that was good. I started running as well, and always swam. I always loved swimming, like even for fun. And that's really when I started training in Oaxaca. And Basically, when uh, when I really started training was when I moved from Oaxaca to Playa del Carmen. Playa del Carmen basically is like near Cozumel. That's why we moved there. Everything's cheap. Everything's cool. We were in a resort. I have access to a gym and a pool. Everything was open. And the magic thing there was basically me meeting my friend Carlos. I went to this gym and I saw this business card on the wall and it said like bike mechanics, Carlos Romero. So I knew he was in the resort. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. That was like day 2. And you know, an Ironman is a lot of preparation. So those kinds of details, they're serendipity, but they're like essential to this whole thing. Met with Carlo. He put my bike back together because basically every time you travel, you need to dismember your bike. So it's really complex to travel with a bike. That being said, he put my bike together, and I asked him, hey, do you know any roads near here that we can train? And he told me, yes, I know this 10-kilometer road. It's really near where we were at, La Ruta de la Basura, the road of the garbage, because there was garbage truck passing all the time there. I was like, holy moly, 10 kilometers, that's perfect, because in that way we could calculate how many kilometers we would do pretty easily. So I used to train 90 kilometers. I started with a 90 kilometer with my bike, which is a half Ironman distance. Obviously, I did a 20 and a 40 before that just to get my body used to it again. And consider that most people recommend a 12 months training before an Ironman. I did 3 months. So just because I don't want to spend my life training, right? I have better things to do than to train for an Ironman, such as spending time working or spending some time with my wife and going to the beach. That being said, 90 kilometers. After that, I did 180 kilometers, and I did that on the weekends because on the week I work. And basically, I alternated the bike and the run. So after my 90 kilometer bike, I did 21 kilometer run. So that's a half marathon. And that's when my knee started hurting a little bit. No, it was after the marathon that I did. So I did 90 kilometer biking. After that, 21 kilometer run in the weekend. After that, 180 kilometer in my bike. So 180 kilometer on the third weekend. Fourth weekend that I did a marathon, and that's 42 kilometers, and that's where my knee started hurting. Probably because of an old injury on my that would be my right ankle, and it disequilibrates my two legs, I guess, in some way, or puts it's kind of loose. So my left knee started hurting, and that's when I went not in panic mode, but like in okay, I need to fix my knee mode. And basically from there on, I used to also do on the weekend sometimes 2 kilometer swims at the beach in open water, 4 kilometer swim as well in the beach, which was horrible. I did it like in 2 hours 30 because there was some waves that I had to swim up, but it was a funny adventure. And my mouth began to be salty and everything was really horrible. I had pain in my mouth for like 2 or 3 days, but that was like basically my training. And there's a lot of things to tell as well during that time. You're probably interested in, and also I went to the gym in between those trainings, so that was like the training part. My diet, I had to change from a keto diet to say a more carb diet because basically keto is really hard on the stomach. Keto basically is just like made for to have a nice health actually, but you cannot run a marathon on a keto, well, on my side, because it gets all upside down and digestive problems, and yeah, you cannot just finish an Ironman with that. It's too painful. So I shifted my diet with that. I bought some protein and some creatine as well to supplements. I used to drink that drink pretty much on a daily basis, but I shifted to a normal standard American diet because I would get my carbs from that. So I would eat a lot of shitty food, but I didn't care because I burned it all. It's also probably the cheapest way to achieve it. Obviously, I could have a cleaner diet, more organic and everything, although I added some healthy stuff. But obviously I wasn't as obsessed about being healthy with that diet as I was in the past. So yeah, that was pretty much like my diet up until then. Then the week before the Ironman, because I don't want to spend like forever in that video, um, we went to Cozumel. So we moved. We took the boat from Playa del Carmen, took the bike and the luggage and everything, and took the boat, the Ultramar boat, 1 week before. And that was a smart move because a lot of people took that boat like almost the same weekends or a couple of days before, and there were a lot of winds and they couldn't cross, so that was a lot of stress for them. Some of them even thought they would miss the Ironman because of that, and obviously they accumulated a lot of anxiety, and that was bad for their race performance or just to enjoy it, because obviously the race wasn't like that extremely bad. I did suffer, but I did enjoy it as well. It's important to enjoy those experiences so that you can aim higher after that and not burn out and say, fuck it, this is my last race, you know. So we arrived in Cozumel, met with our nice Airbnb host, Otto. We were in the center of Cozumel. We weren't like in the hotel zone, and that was good to live like the real Cozumel life. And we really enjoyed it. Like we were in the centro, near the people basically, and we were near nice typical restaurants and stuff. So that was the week before the Ironman. I was always checking the weather, checking what was happening in basically the weather and everything, to see if the race was gonna happen, because COVID was crazy, and the conditions and the wind, the waves of the water. See if people had questions. I had questions of my own. I wanted to fix this knee, so I asked it in the group. They referred me to a formidable physiotherapist. Her name is Jessica, and she kind of put some ultraviolet or some rays in my knee, which diminished inflammation for a while, which probably helped as well to finish the race. Went to natural food store, bought some kombucha, which is like fermented tea for digestion, which is always good. Enjoyed Cozumel, went for some bike ride, swim in the ocean. Cozumel is just beautiful, and there was no one in the beach. We were alone. It's a perfect place to do some diving and everything, so it was really nice. Obviously I was stressed at some times. I was thinking about the Ironman, especially when I had a lot of caffeine in my blood, but I calm myself in those moments, and I'm quite good at doing that. So that was cool, because a lot of people will get anxious, not sleep, and stuff like that. So the night before the Ironman, it brings me to this night, which typically athletes do not sleep during that night, and I succeeded into sleeping a second time because I did a half Ironman the year before, and I slept well during that night as well. My trick was just to not think of the Ironman. So every time my brain would think about the Ironman, I would think about something else. It's just like meditation. And with that trick, I succeeded into sleeping, I think at 6 or 7 p.m., which gave me like a solid 8 hours or 9 hours of sleep, which is essential. It's the first thing in an Ironman. So my first success was there, and all the micro successes you can have are pretty much essential during Ironman. I woke up, I wrote to my taxi guy, which was Fernando, a guy I met the day before, because we had to go drop the bags and everything, and this guy brought us back. Was a really nice guy, you know. He didn't charge us the best prices, but I guess like those guys need to make some money too. But he was a really nice guy, and I picked him because he was positive, he was funny, and like you don't want to be around someone negative before your race. So that guy brought me in. He knew like how to pass through the city because there was a lot of traffic that morning. All roads were blocked and everything. But before I get to that, like I woke up, ate some eggs, and pieces of ham together, cooked in cocoa oil with and I into a sandwich of mayonnaise, which was really delicious. I had my coffee going on, green and minty, as well. Some water, some Gatorade. Gatorade, yes, that's the shitty stuff that goes into diet, because they would serve Gatorade in the race, and I needed to get my stomach used to it. My protein and creatine shake, that was my breakfast. Prime time then. I started some music on my iPhone. Basically, I had this amazing artist. His name is Pure Music, Serenades of the Night. and that was like the music in the morning, and that brought me to tears, because this song is starts in the morning. You hear the crickets in the song, and then it's like if the sun is rising, and basically when you start your Ironman, it's dark outside. It's like when I woke up, it was 4:15 a.m. Okay, so I heard people partying at this time. I hear people literally like partying, and I would wake up, and yeah, obviously all those good stuff started to kick in: the caffeine, the protein, the creatine, the amino acids, and I was was kind of stoked and high. And basically finished his breakfast, tried to go to the bathroom, wasn't successful in doing that. Um, but basically, yeah, I finished that. My wife woke up a couple moments after, and off we went to the Ironman with the taxi Fernando. So we got to the start, and I forgot to put my bottles in my bike. So basically, I filled them, one with protein, one with water, and we went put them back on my bike that morning. And after we turned back and headed to the swim start. So the swim start, a lot of people there. I went to explore first to see like how it was, and basically the buses start arriving. The buses were starting from the hotels and coming to the swim start. And basically when the lots of them would, and people were stressed out, that morning there was a guy like blocking the buses, and it was like, hey buddy, you need to move. And the guy told me, why? Was it because you need to move, man? There's people passing. Yeah, I know you're stressed, buddy. People were in line, with their masks and stuff, and COVID, and people were stressed out. That's what I felt in 2020. But that being said, I was at the swim start, pretty much ready to go. One of the only there with no swimsuits. I saw the start. I was comfortable with it, and then people were in line, and we had to maintain a social distance. Um, and it wasn't moving at first, so like I was meditating, sitting down, stretching, warming up, and finally the line began to move, and that was exciting. The line moved really quick, actually, probably because all people were stuck up at some point at the beginning of the line. I was like discussing as well with people near me, and my turn soon came, so I put my helmet, put my goggles on top of it, and when I could see the little wharf which people jump from, I put my glasses, my swimming goggles, and finally my came turn, and I jumped. Well, there wasn't a sound, but there was a guy telling me, okay, go. And I jumped in the water, the 2 feet first, because last year I dived and I dove in the water and I lost my goggles. That was like really dumb, and I had to put them back on again. And yeah, I started calmly. There wasn't any pushbacks, probably because I was at the back of the group, and the swim was pretty much amazing. There was a bit of jelly stings. I could see through water. It was beautiful. I was swimming like probably too near the buoys, which are like huge orange cones floating in the water. We could see divers as well in the water. Last year, a guy died in the Ironman from a heart attack. So probably that's the reason why they put like divers in there, so that people wouldn't like go down the water. But it was like a beautiful, perfect conditions. I will always remember that. I started at some point to say, okay, I'm starting to be tired of being in the water, and I mean, it's normal. It's just like repetitive stuff. Um, and that's when I put my head up. So I would swim and sometimes put my head up. And that's where I saw the two towers of the finish line of the swim. And I was like, already? It's done? So that was probably like 1 hour in the swim. And soon enough, I was there at 1 hour 21. So that's my 4 kilometers. I did it in 1 hour 21 minutes. Went out of the water, was like super happy. It was like already in celebration mode. My first win of the day. So I walked and I cheered for the others coming out of the water. So I just wanted to share this moment with a bunch of other people. And soon enough, I began like to be in race mode again in the T1, the transition one, and I started running to go for my bike. I stopped at the bike, put my solar cream, did a bit of exercise, stretching, and took my bike, put my helmet on, my bike shoes on, and here I go. I got on the bike. The start was pretty slow, was more like exploratory, and I had fun. It's an island basically, so it's like an island like this, and this whole side here is with the wind. Okay, so the wind is coming that direction. The wind is coming like that, and it's perfect up until you do the second half of the island. The wind's coming against you, and basically that's the circuit. You do it 3 times in the bike, and with the wind, the first loop, the first half loop is okay, but when you go to that second one against the wind, it is a torture. So the sea is right there. The sea is right there, and the island is here, and that's you're like basically right. You're facing the sea basically. So crazy winds, but beautiful view, right? Like you're facing the sea. You see the big waves coming. It's like scenic view. It's like desert if you want. Maya site, and basically when you come here so you come like this, and then here's the transition to the city. The city is like here. So the you go up and you finish with the wind. You do that 3 times. The city was really nice because you could see people cheering for you, and I became emotional at that moment because I was like, Mexican people, they've always been there for me. They always accepted me amongst them, and they really cared for me and helped me at a point of my life which was kind of down, and was crucial for my rise up, for my the phoenix needs to rise up from his ashes. So became emotional at that moment, and that was the second time of the day that was emotional. That being said, the second loop was quite hard, like less motivating, because you're in between 2 chairs, right? At the second loop, the first is when you explore, the second is where you suffer, and the third is like, oh, okay, it's the final one, I'm gonna finish. So that was pretty much the highlight on my bike. I was drinking water the whole time, splashing cold water on top of my helmet, taking gels, eating some protein bars along the way. So that was pretty much my bike run. The last loop, I met a nice guy from Colorado. It was sunburn, and he offered me like some caffeine and stuff, like true Ironman spirit. So I offered him some gel so that because he was quite sore, and he thanked me, and that was a really nice Ironman spirit right now. And basically, yeah, that was my bike ride. I did a really bad time, 7 hours 30 minutes. So it wasn't like a nice performance, but I made it. And obviously I saw my wife there for the two last laps, because I missed her on the first lap. I was like so focused that I didn't even see her. And that was pretty nice to see some familiar face in the crowd, and obviously people were cheering. So finished the bike, the whole 180 kilometers. I was like, it was nice to get off the bike. You know, it's not a nice position. You're on your aero bars the whole time, focused. I didn't. It wasn't my best performance. I had some moments of focus, and then came the run, which I truly feared because of my knee. That was the crucial moment, you know, because I knew my knee would F me up, like sooner or later. So basically, I thought it would start giving up on me on the kilometer 10 or 20. So I tried to come up with a plan to actually fix it. And I knew it would mess me up, because it would mess up on me, because I tried it a couple of days earlier, and it was still feeling weird, you know. Even now, like in Canada, after 2 weeks after 2 or 3 weeks after the Ironman, I tried running on it like 3 days ago, and it was painful. Playa del Carmen, so it's still messed up, you know. That being said, I went to transition 2. I dropped my bike. Was happy to finish the bike, obviously, and excited to start running. And basically I stopped for a long time in this transition because I wanted to make sure I didn't mess up any details, because that was crucial for me to finish this race. So I put this, and basically my physio Jessica, she was supposed to put some tape that was impermeable a couple of days before, but she didn't had it. So I was kind of left by my own here to fix my knee. Um, so I started running, and I put this kneecap support. So it's kind of an elastic cloth, basically, that you put on your knee. I put some cream, some hot cold cream, my whole legs. I wore my shoes, obviously, my running gear, and everything, and I started running. I ate a couple of things, and here I was. I had obviously a really nice rhythm initially. For the first loop, it was 6 loop, so it's like again a 6 loop, and it was 42 kilometer, so about 7 kilometers per loop. And I did the first, everything was fine. Then second one, there was a guy like complaining that he did a time of 4 hours. I would end up doing 6 hours 30. So I was like, man, if this guy, and he looked like really in shape, and if I was like, if this guy thought it was hard, like I'm in for a treat there. And I started coming back. The sun was still up at that time, and basically the second loop was a bit harder, and but the pain really started showing in my left knee at the third the third lap, so half of it basically. So it started really hurting at that time. I had to find tricks. So I tried a bunch of things. I first tried ice to like mask the pain that was like really intense, and basically that didn't work. The pain started showing up even higher, and at a point which I couldn't even run, so I would stop and then I would run, I would stop and then I would run. And I tried folding my kneecap support. I tried everything up until I found a solution, was actually to piss myself, and so that it could be hot, and that like kind of solved the problem. And obviously the best tip I had for that was to kind of slide, because it was sand and it was on pavement. And I slid for like 21 kilometers, choo, 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 choo. And like I was like a zombie. People like finishing the race were like zombies. The sun got down and we really looked like zombies back there, like people running at like 2 kilometers an hour, and or walking. Like the party was over basically, and the party was really over up on that point. Everybody wanted to go home, finish with that goddamn thing, for that piece of metal there. And that was like Dante's Inferno for me. I had to go through this to earn that piece of metal there, and never was I fully sure to finish that race. And that what made me anxious, what that is, if my knee gave up on me, if really he was like messed up and I couldn't even walk, and in that case that meant I couldn't finish the race. So I was careful as well not to mess up my knee. But as well, when I stopped running, when I didn't slide, I would actually feel more pain. So it was really a struggle for me to finish that race. I think I saw my wife at the fourth loop or fifth loop, and that gave me like fate. Was like my last lap, if you want. So 3 laps, or 3 loops, sorry, or 6 laps. And at that point, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna finish it. Almost done with that thing. With it, when you think about it right now, it's ridiculous to think that I was about to give up. But I went in Goggins mode. David Goggins, for those who know him, which is an ultra marathoner, Navy SEAL, crazy guy. Love this guy. I went into that mode, that really dark place where you become more of a monkey than a Homo sapien, and also Terry Fox mode, one could call it, where you're just like in the zone, you're suffering, but you're still going. I went into that zone. And at that point was probably 10 p.m. I tried to eat snack as well to motivate myself. Mosquitoes tried to bite me at that time. Lots of mosquitoes, an aggressive one in Cozumel. So it wasn't fun, It really wasn't fun. And basically that was like fifth loop. So at my fifth loop, which was like the last before the sixth loop, obviously, was suffering a lot, but then I crossed like the fifth lap line and went to my sixth. And at my sixth, I was like, okay, I'm actually gonna finish that, you know. Um, but even then, I still wasn't like 100% sure in my mind. But it was certainly motivating, and that allowed me to run a bit more for the sixth lap. And when I reached some point in the city, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop and run, gonna stop and run. But at the end, I had a bit more motivation, and I decided to run the end, the end, to the finish line. Saw my wife, and that was the finish basically. And it was actually really near the finish line, so that was cool. And went on stage and heard Charles Cormier from Montreal, Quebec. I think the guy said, "You are now an Ironman," and didn't celebrate it as I thought I would. I was happy though. I was really happy. Met my wife, took some picture, um, and received this piece of metal. This shirt also, really nice shirt, which has like a back to it as well, finisher. Um, so I guess, like, I did the Ironman mainly. I thought, like, I told you guys that I was inspired by the stepdad of one of my best friend. Um, Yet I'm doing that stuff for the spiritual and mindset aspect of it, as you grow immensely as a human being from it. And I can already feel in my voice today, speaking to you guys, that I am different. I'm tougher. I'm a better human being in the end, and that's why I do these types of things. So the aftermath of the Ironman was me trying to get into a taxi, me trying to climb stairs, because you don't have legs anymore after that. Um, I was nauseous as well at night because all the sugar I ate and everything, so that was really bad. Finally got to sleep, woke up the next day, and I think I was a bit like dehydrated. I didn't have enough salt in me. But we went for some delicious tacos and quesadillas, and they were so good with this agua de Jamaica and agua de horchata, which are like sweet waters, and they're so good. That was my week after. Basically wrote the text that you guys might read, which I will certainly include. It's basically a Google Doc called The Iron Man, The Journey. And that's pretty much it, like I finished it. We crossed back to Playa del Carmen a week after, I think, or 3 days after. And finally from Playa we stayed a week, and we crossed back to Canada in a plane. So that's pretty much here. I will thank a lot of people finally to finish this video. First, my wife, because she deserves it a lot. She's been there this whole time. This is a couple thing. This is not an individual thing. If you have a wife, if you have some kids, you're not the only one doing this Ironman. They're all doing it with you, because it's a lot of planning. It's a lot of sacrifices from time, money, energy perspective. She helped me, brought that thing to life, not only because she did give her time, her energy, but also even took some of her own money to give it to me to buy a bunch of stuff. Ironman is really expensive. Shoes, aero bars, helmets, bike pedals, bottles holders, repairs, running shoes, shorts, t-shirts, swimming goggles, swimming equipment, gyms, nutrition, professionals helping you, physios, massage. It's really expensive. It's a rich man sport. It's probably the costliest sport out there. Yeah, so thank you, Nadia, if you read that video and you're right next to me, so you probably hear that. Thank you, babe. Love you. Then my mom and dad, which I love dearly, they've been supporting me. We had some weekly calls since COVID began, and obviously they also helped me with their encouragement, also financially, and for providing me this education, and to being such a motivated guy. Never gave up on me, although I was a rough kid. Alex, my brother, as well, had some nice calls with him before that. Played video games together, so that's or sports that bring us close, I would guess. Whole Corby and Frechette family, thank you for your support. Ironman Dan, which has been my coach, he gave me a lot of useful advice during that time. So a really nice guy. He obviously inspired me to obtain that piece of metal. He has quite a lot of them himself. I wasn't an easy client, so thank you for that. The guys at the triathlon um, club of Dan, so Les Proformants in French, Montreal group of triathlon. Thank you guys for following me on the race day and give me some support. My assistant GP at this time of this video, Jean-Philippe, he helped me make all those things happen, booking Airbnbs, flights, organizing that, and the payments, the payrolls, and everything. Amelie, which has been taking care of my business as well, and all the colleagues in our business. You are like epic and super valuable. Carlos, which obviously has been my bike mechanic and friend during these times, he accompanied me to the 90 kilometer, which I did in the Ruta La Basura, and the 180 kilometer. So really nice guy, in Playa del Carmen. His wife is pregnant right now, so they'll have a kid probably at this time of the video, and it will be a newborn. So really nice guy. Thank you, Carlos. Beto, we trained together in Manzanillo. Beto is like the fittest 45, 50-year-old I've ever seen. Triathlon guy in Manzanillo, Mexico. Really nice guy. Trained with him. Phil, my business partner, for providing me support and understanding me going through all of that. So Phil, my business partner with my supplement company, Velox. Thank you, buddy. Airbnb owners, got a couple of friends in there. So Gerardo, Estrella from Playa del Carmen, and Otto in Cozumel. Thank you all. And if you want some more information about me, you can check out my website, charlescormier.co. You'll probably see my Instagram and my YouTube chain there. So for all of you guys that stayed throughout this video, I'm just gonna show you this metal here, and I'm gonna bite it for you guys. So just so that you can see. So this is Ixchel, which is the goddess, one goddess in Cozumel, Ixchel. So that's what the metal looks like. 2020 edition, Cozumel 2020. So you can see Ironman here, Cozumel, and the back of the metal, which provides you details on the swim. Let me turn it around here, probably like this. That's right. So you can see here the bike information, the distance. So swim 2.4 miles, bike 112 miles, and run 26.2 miles. So that's the metal edition 2020, and that's been my crazy and epic story about Ironman Cozumel. Hope you guys enjoyed it.